Hi guys, and welcome back to Skyline Skills. Now, instead of doing cage build after cage build, we are going to break this up with some fun information. Like today, we're going to go over some of the hardest things to learn as a new reptile keeper. Now, I'm relatively new to the hobby, I haven't been in it forever, and I'm learning as I go. But right now, I want to share with you guys the 4 hardest things to learn as a beginner reptile keeper, and how you can mitigate them and get better at them. So, number 4. It's not incredibly hard, but for someone in my area, it was actually a bit of a challenge, and that is food availability. Now, each animal has its own food requirements. I have got multiple snakes that all eat rats. Some of them require certain kinds of rats. This little guy, Jalone, he's right over here. He requires crickets and hornworms and various other bugs to keep him happy and healthy. Now, it's a little difficult for me because we live in a small town. The nearest pet store to us that services exotic animals like reptiles is 2 hours away, so we've got to plan ahead. We have to buy crickets in bulk or rats in bulk, or what I did, which I find the easiest, is I just start providing those animals for myself. I've started breeding superworms, I've started breeding rats, I've breeded mice. We'll get on to crickets soon, but those are a challenge in and of themselves. Now, for a lot of people, food availability isn't that big of an issue. You just have to plan ahead with your specific animal. If your lizard needs crickets, then make sure you have a store nearby for crickets. If your snake needs rats, make sure you have somewhere to get rats nearby. But for us, the nearest reptile store to us is 2 hours away. Now, we have plenty that we like. Petco and PetSmart are okay, but I prefer smaller pet stores like Animal Ark and Jay's Jungle. If you don't have available food near you, you either need to A, provide the food yourself by breeding the animals in your own time, or B, you need to plan ahead. Make sure you have enough for the time between the times that you can go to your pet store. Number 3 on the list is research. You always have to do your research with each new animal you get. If you get a ball python, do your research. If you get another ball python, probably still a little bit more research because there's always something new to learn. If you get a boa, a whole new suite of research. You have to make sure that you know what your animal needs, how it needs it, what food it needs, what temperatures, what humidity, what size cage. There's a whole host of things you need to know, and you're gonna learn this through research. Now, research consists of more than just watching one video. Never take any one person's advice because it could be wrong and you have nothing to back it up against. Instead, when you do your research, make sure you have at least 3 backed sources that say the same things. My favorite source of information is other experienced keepers that I know I can trust. So I love to watch the YouTube videos. I love Clint's Reptiles. I love Nerd Reptiles. I love Green Room Pythons. They're all great sources of information. But again, you need more than just that. Don't use only YouTube as your source of information. Find articles, find magazines, do as much research as you can with each and every individual animal, and make sure that you feel comfortable with the knowledge you have. Number 2, and this one I'm sure plenty of you guys have issues with, monies. Now, you don't need to be rich to be a reptile keeper. You really don't. However, you do need to know how to handle your money right. Because if you go to the next reptile expo or the next pet store and you go, I want this ball python, this ball python, this ball python, that's what my $300 will cover. And then you walk out of the store and go, cool, I've got 3 snakes, no cages, no heating elements, no snake food. That's why we have to plan our money. Make sure before you buy the animal, you've got enough money or you have already purchased things like cages, hides, enrichment, light bulbs, or heating elements. And make sure you're prepared to buy them food because you can't just not buy them food. That's kind of a needed thing. They kind of need food, guys. But another thing that you also need to plan with your money that I love as a practice to keep $50 to $100 set aside. That I can't touch that money in case of emergencies. Emergencies consist of, oh no, the glass on the tank broke. I need to repair that completely. Or Jalone's UVB bulb has gone out. I need to get another light bulb. Or the worst case scenario, emergency vets. You need to make sure that you have money so that if your animal is injured or the tank is damaged and something needs replaced, that you can replace it. Alrighty. Next, we are going to do the honorable mention. I had to include this one just because I thought it was funny when my husband mentioned it. But one thing you do have to contribute to that can be hard to master sometimes is the size of the hides for the animals. Now they have these beautiful enclosures and they look so good, but how often is the hide wrong? You have to make sure that the hide is comfortable for the animal. They don't want a hide that's 4 times their size because then they're going to be uncomfortable. Their hides are there to keep them squished and secure and make them feel safe, and it'll be dark. So if you have a big hide that's way too big for them, it's not going to function properly and the animals are going to be stressed. Now, the simple solution for this is honestly just get creative. We have used everything from the lids on vitamin bottles to Tupperware containers and plastic totes as hides for our animals. Then you just have to make sure you have the right size. And number 1, the by far hardest thing I ever think I've had to learn as a reptile keeper is humidity controls. And this is something you don't just have to learn, but you kind of have to master. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with Utah, our humidity ranges from 15 to 30%, which is really low compared to a lot of the exotic species that are popular to keep. Ball pythons, boas, corn snakes, a lot of those guys like higher humidity levels, 60 to 80%, which is way higher than our 30. So, my number 1 favorite way to mitigate this and to make it so that humidity controls are a lot easier, that's these guys. Keep a species that is familiar to your climate. Jalone is actually local to Utah. He's gone to hide, turd knocker. He's local to Utah, and that means that his humidity is going to be very similar to the air around us, and I won't have to do much to mitigate it. I've just got to keep an eye on those temperatures. However, if you do want exotic species, I've got plenty myself. There are many ways to keep track of it. The number 1 way to keep track of your humidity, make sure you have a humidity gauge to actually track it. You want different types of substrates and soils. Sands are not going to hold humidity well, so it's going to be really dry. Cork bark and fibrous planty things, all of those are going to hold humidity a lot better. So do your research into your substrate and what substrate you're going to use in your enclosures, so then you know exactly what temperature, what humidities you need, what's going to hold humidity and what's not. Now, I talked about how it's hard not only to get the humidity up, but to stop it from going too far up. Now, with that, you need a lot of ventilation in your cage. Make sure your cage has ventilation and it can still move the air around. Not only does that keep healthier air for your animal and helps prevent respiratory infection, but it will also help control your humidity levels a little bit. You can also look at the size of your water bowl. If the humidity is too high, go for a smaller water bowl. If the humidity is too low, go for a larger water bowl and a substrate that absorbs water a lot better. There you go, the top 4 hardest things to learn as a beginner reptile keeper according to my own experiences, and how you can change those and get a hold of them and master them that much faster. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and comment down below. What were some of the hardest things you learned jumping into the reptile hobby? Or maybe what's something you're learning now that you could use a little help on? Anyways, thank you, and we will see you guys next time.